Makima is a character that people talk about a lot. Sometimes it's about her role as an antagonist of the story, sometimes it's about her thematic importance, oftentimes it's a bunch of horny people on Twitter. Despite all of the talk about her though, Makima is actually a very misunderstood character. Now don't get me wrong, while I do think Makima is ultimately a very tragic character, she's still incredibly evil. Just a really bad person at the end of the day. But it goes a lot deeper than that. In order to truly understand Makima, we need to understand why she loves Chainsaw Man and what her goals really are. So why is Makima a fan of Chainsaw Man? She never says it explicitly, but there are a couple instances where she talks about him that we can draw from. The first is her talk with Kishibe, when she says that because she asked him to save her, he'll return no matter what. It's easy to focus on the line about her asking to be saved, but her being a fan clearly has nothing to do with some heroic nature. After all, he kills whoever he saves. Another important line of hers is, because of what he does, he is marked and killed by many devils, but he revs his engine and arises again and again. The pattern here is Chainsaw Man's incredible perseverance. Her belief in him to come back is stemmed from her view of him as this indomitable force that always pushes through adversity. The second reason she is a fan of him is that to her, he represents absolute chaos. We see this a little bit in her conversation with Kishibe when she says that some react to his chaotic exploits with anger. Then, again, after she beats Denji's clone in a fight, she says to him that Chainsaw Man doesn't spit. Chainsaw Man doesn't wear clothing and doesn't talk. Every action he takes should be chaotic. However, it's more than just his behavior as some chaotic being. His actions are not without reason after all, but his chaotic nature is also shown in the details of his ability. Chainsaw Man's ability is that when he eats a devil, they are erased from existence, along with the concept they represent. This is an ability that represents the idea of chaos perfectly, because chaos isn't just anarchy or a ton of random stuff happening. Chaos is very simply complete disorder. In the case of Chainsaw Man, it's the opposition towards the natural order of things. In the series, whenever a devil dies, they reincarnate. Chainsaw Man, as far as we know, is the only being that can undermine that fundamental rule. Even without that, just the ability to erase concepts from existence is itself a defiance to natural order, as those natural orders can simply cease to exist. But this isn't a video analyzing Pochita, this is a Makima video, and Makima's view of this information is what matters. Makima talks about this ability very reverently, saying that even with my ability to take control over everything, I'm beginning to forget the names that are gone. She sees Chainsaw Man as a power that exists above her own, and in that she sees opportunity. Now before I get into why that is, we need to understand the answer to another question. What is Makima? Obviously, she's the control devil, we all know that much, but what does that really mean for her? Not only does she have the ability to control people, but she is a being that is centered on the concept of control. This is described when Pochita says that she always wanted to form equal relationships, but she could only form relationships through the power of fear. Obviously, we see this in her domineering personality. She constantly manipulates people, she views human beings the same way people view dogs, but this is also shown in the reverse. After all, she can only look at Chainsaw Man in worship, viewing him as a being above her. And her only way to form a relationship with him is by beating him in a fight so she can control him. Her entire existence is defined by hierarchies, where all beings are placed into one of two categories, above her or below her. This all makes it so her very being is tied to the established order of things. Her only way of engaging with that order is shifting it around, but she can't abandon it entirely. That is why she idolizes Chainsaw Man so much. She sees Chainsaw Man as the antithesis to herself. Whereas she is a being defined by order, he is a being defined by chaos. She looks up to his perseverance against the order of things. How despite constantly being killed for the way he is, he never stops going forward. And this brings us to his ability to erase things. Through this ability, he not only represents an opposition to order, but also the actualization of that ideal. In that power, she sees possibility, the possibility to save her. Like the series establishes, her goal was always to form equal relationships, and she was going to use Pochita's power to make a world where she could do that. Because her own nature won't permit her to do so. I mean, just look at how she goes about things. She wants to be an equal to others, but goes around doing so purely by manipulating people. Like I said, her being is defined by hierarchies. No matter how much she may want to achieve some kind of ideal relationship with someone, she is bound by her nature to fail. It's the same with other devils. As the blood devil, power loves blood. The future devil is always raving about how the future is the best. In some capacity, these beings are defined by some intrinsic nature that guides a lot of their actions. This is why Makima reveres Chainsaw Man so much. That is why she makes a special note of the fact that she is beginning to forget the things that he erases, because she realizes that his power is above her own, that his chaos surpasses her established order. And that's really just the tragic irony of Makima. For as long as she has existed, she has been a creature defined by power dynamics and wanting so desperately to escape that cruel nature. But all she can think to do to overcome that is through the control of others and the idolization of her personal hero. She can never imagine things outside of the context of people being above or below her. She derides Denji for not understanding Chainsaw Man and being chosen by him, but she's just unable to understand that what Denji and Pochita had was exactly what she wanted, a genuine relationship of equals. In fact, that's what Denji had all along. Makima acts superior for being able to give Denji a family and then take it away from him, but in the end, she just gave him the one thing she can never have. Makima was ultimately destined to fail, because while all she wanted was to overcome her nature, it was that same nature that made it impossible to do so. And that's where power comes in, because where Makima is the failure to surpass her nature, power is an example of success. Her existence is defined by two things, her love of blood as the blood devil and her hatred of humans as a devil. But she doesn't just overcome these things, I mean she can't, it's a part of who she is, but she can recontextualize them. Her love of blood had this nihilistic aspect to it, with all lives being equally trivial. She loves blood, and the blood in living things was all that mattered to her. It wasn't by discarding this nature of hers that she succeeds, it was by twisting it into a new shape, focusing on the warmth of a living being. And it's because of this that she could reach the point where she sacrificed herself for her very first friend. And that's where Makima fails. She says she loves humans as if they are dogs to her, but if we look at Denji and Pochita, they have the relationship of a dog and a human while still being on equal footing. But Makima never attempted anything like this. In the end, Makima couldn't change or recontextualize. All she could do was stagnate in her ways and be the monster that she is.